This isn't my favorite thing to do. Doing talks like this 2 in 6 weeks is a bit much for me. But I've come to these things, as Harold knows. Harold recruited me from Duke, and I've been here 31 years now. And everybody asks me, a lot of residents say, what was your dad like? What was your dad like? So it was time after my Aunt Eileen died, January this year at 105. She gave me, before that, she gave me all her diary, which is incredible. You'll see clippings from it, and all her pictures and letters and incredible stuff. So when I got all that, I said, okay, it's time to do it. So here he is. It's one of my favorite pictures. It shows his personality. And putting this together, I mean, I've got boxes like this of letters, memorabilia, pictures, diaries, and just sorting through it just to kind of get what I'm showing you today is just a morsel of what there really was in that box. And my cousin and I, you'll see after I present this, his older brother was a incredible guy. He was Sherman Coleman on steroids, if you can believe it. You'll see why. So this was laborious, fun, interesting, and educational putting this together. But again, this is just touching the history I have. Whoops. Which way do I go, Kevin?
On the right, yeah.
Anyway, I think it's important to know where you came from, who you were, and what you did. So I'm going way back because there's a few things I wanted to discuss. This is kind of out of order. Anyway, he was great-grandfather of SSC, my dad. And I want a little note on where A.O. Smoot led the second wave of pioneers. And he was very close with Brigham Young. And when they were in Nauvoo, they were deciding where the second wave should go. Brigham Young told him you can go to Texas, Utah, or hell. And A.O. Smoot here stated that I'd rather go to hell than Utah. That's quote. And anyway, he ended up leading the second wave, and I have this diary handwritten of someone on that second wave, and there's no name written in it, but I've got to get a calligrapher to see if it was A.O. Smoot, which would be exciting. Anyway, he was second mayor of Salt Lake, first mayor of Provo, and when the BYU Academy burned down, which subsequently became BYU, he gave all his financial support to it, and subsequently BYU administration building was named after him. And I put this in here, a little trivia I found in my Aunt Eileen's. This is kind of winky. Anyway, what this is, he became a bishop of Harley's Creek Ward, which in what's known now as Sugar House. But it says here, I don't know if you can read it, but they had a town. They had no name for it. So A.O. Smoot had a contest to name the town, and it ended up by one, of course, a Smoot. I think it was an inside job. But they named it Sugar House, and see how the original spelling is Sugar House. Now it's combined into one word. So one other thing I want to point out, look at the ears. It's important. You'll see that. He's got what we call it in the family Smoot ears. Anyway, here's the administration building at BYU. And here is Uncle Jim on the far right, Aunt Eileen, whose journal I've got a lot of this stuff from, Martha, Genevieve, my grandmother, grandfather, and then one will finish up with his SSC. This is my dad's mother. She was the first granddaughter of A.O. Smoot, daughter of A.O. Smoot II, and she was in the first group of women to climb Mount Timpanogos. And I have a picture of that, but she came back from that. She said her dress and shoes were essentially destroyed. And she was a teacher in Wellsburg, Utah, and a socialite. I'll get into my grandfather. He was a curmudgeon, kind of like Marge. Marge is my wife. Anyway, here's a letter that my grandmother wrote to A.O. Smoot, and here she is. She said her dress was tattered, as I said, and her shoes were shredded. This is the first group of women essentially allowed to climb Mount Tippinotis. Here's the curmudgeon. You can look at him and see. I don't think I ever saw him smile. Kevin, he always had a bow tie. Even when he worked in the garden, he had his stuff on. And his hobbies were working in the garden, rock blessing, as well as riding horses. He was an incredible horseman. He grew up in Nephi and had no money, but he was extremely bright, and they sent him to Salt Lake High School, which is now West High School. And he was valedictorian there, editor of the Stanford School. He got his law degree, but he's very tempestuous. He created a lot of friction in the family, especially with my Uncle Jim. The stories I could go on, but we don't have time for that. But anyway, I want to go back. By tempestuous, at dinner every night, the kids, including my dad, they had to have their hands washed, hair combed, clean clothes, best manners, and treat their mother like a queen. That was Natalie's journal. So, pretty strict guy, not a big guy, probably 5'7", 136 pounds. That's what was Natalie's journal. Anyway, here's their 50th wedding anniversary, and the curmudgeon and the socialite. And there's my grandfather, avid horseman, rodeos and all that. And he taught high school in Nephi, and he'd ride his horse about 20 miles a day, going back and forth. Then he ended up being an attorney in Provo. Here's Eileen, incredible lady. She was the oldest sister, firstborn. She obtained her, well, first of all, at 16, she was very involved in dancing, and she went to New York. This is a clipping out of her journal. She went to New York at 16 alone, and which is pretty courageous in those days. And then she got training there. Then she went to Wisconsin and got training, and she went back to Provo, BYU, got her physical education degree and education degree from BYU, and essentially established the modern dance program at BYU. And on her 100th birthday, students from the modern dance program came up from BYU Provo to kind of honor her on her 100th birthday at Highland Cove, which is on Highland Drive, 39 South roughly. And she passed away at 105, and she was sharpest attack about 2 months before she died, when she got pneumonia. And then that's when she said, I want you to have all this stuff. Oops. This is probably the only, they had Robert Smoot Coleman, who was, I'm kind of going down the line here. He was oldest brother of SSC, passed away at age 6. Cause of death was the national flu epidemic. Of course, this was a worldwide epidemic. Estimated 50 to 100 million people died from this. It's H1N1, my research, H1N1 variant. And you can see that's Aline on the left, Martha on the right, wearing her mask. And for Robert's funeral, they couldn't congregate. They couldn't have it at church. They couldn't have anywhere else. So his service was on the front porch of their home. And here's Martha, second oldest sister, second daughter of Jacob, Alene. Very accomplished pianist, graduate of music at BYU, taught music at BYU, and she also accompanied for Alene's dance classes at BYU. Incredible pianist. She had terrible arthritis in her thumbs, CMC arthritis, and her hands were deformed. And I said, Martha, does that bother you? I can fix those. And she said, well, they don't hurt, and I can still play. I said, okay, you're good. This is Sherman Coleman on steroids. He was incorrigible. He was sent to Wasatch Academy. If you know anything about that, that's where the incorrigible kids went. Anyway, he extremely bright. You can see here, this is out of Wikipedia. I'll get into more of this, but M.D. PhD, I'll get that next. He's a brother at SSC, PhD from Harvard, also got his master's from Harvard, Fulbright scholar, and he didn't speak till age 4. And done the WD, it's in Allie's journal, I didn't put it in there, but that was for milk and then something for water, I can't remember. They took him to all the physicians in Provo. They couldn't find out what was wrong. My grandmother even took him to a fortune teller to try to find out what's going on. They couldn't. Finally, they brought him to Salt Lake, and he had otitis media. Both ears he couldn't fix it. So they drained the pus, and after that, he just excelled. He spoke 5 languages fluently. Obviously English, Spanish, French, German, and Swahili. And during World War II, he was in the U.S. Army and stayed for a speechwriter for General Lewis in Paris. And then he lived between Harvard, UCLA, and that he also went to Africa for 12 years, where he did incredible political science. I remember growing up, and on the Walter Cronkite, it was Harold even. Uncle Jim would come on TV. It certainly wasn't live, but through tape, and that's when they had a lot of African war tribes fighting. And anyway, he'd come on and say, hey, there's Uncle Jim. Anyway, he lived in Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. He was there for 12 to 15 years between the various countries. And he also became associate director in the Rockefeller Foundation for East Africa. And this, if he doesn't look like a CIA agent, I don't know what does. He was the most charismatic man in the world. I mean, my dad was kind of theatrical with his arms. Uncle Jim was just out here. They had the same voice. And again, you can see the Smoot ears, big earlobes. I didn't point that out on my grandmother. She always wore big earrings to cover the earlobe. So you know it's a true descendant of A.O. Smoot if they've got this. Anyway, nobody really knew this. This was a secret. I went and visited him with my cousin in Nairobi. And my cousin Rob and I came home one night. I said, where's Uncle Jim? Oh, he left. Ursula's his wife, German lady. Said, oh, he just left. He probably went off to lecture. And he says, he does this all the time. I never know where he goes. So anyway, that's the reason why. And then the African Studies Center is named after him. This just says where got his Fulbright scholarship, and he wrote a textbook, several textbooks, but one he got the Woodrow Wilson Award for on Nigeria. When he wrote it on Nigeria, and then this is during this time, very secret. Jim was an agent for the CIA. Oh, since we're ahead of schedule, I'm going to tell a story about Ralph Richards. Harold, you remember Ralph Richards? Peter, you're probably right. Anyway, Ralph he was the chairman of heart surgery and the general surgeon. He was in Nairobi and staying in the Marriott Hotel, and my Uncle Jim was lecturing there. Ralph Richards walked by this room and heard this distinguished voice. Their voices were identical. Looks very similar. And Ralph Richards stopped when he heard that voice and looked in and said, "My God, that's Sherman." And he stayed there until the lecture was over, and the closer he got, he said it wasn't Sherman. So he went up and he introduced himself to my Uncle Jim and said, "Are you in relation to Sherman Coleman?" He said, "Yeah, that's my own brother." So, small world. Okay, let's see. All right, this is the youngest of the bunch. This is Genevieve. Also earrings, Smoot ears. My Aunt Eileen didn't write much on her, but geez, I'm telling her what Anyway, she, with her husband, moved to Arkansas. She was a legal secretary to Hillary Rodham Clinton. And anyway, she was tortured by her brother, meaning Uncle Jim. And they used to have a phone in their kitchen. It was one of those stand-up, crank-up things. And she was a little girl. She'd have to reach high up to do it. And Uncle Jim would go up and pull her pants down. So, all right, now we're into the main topic. Born in SOC, born in Provo. You see the dates. And this is a picture, I think, when he was about 4 on his tricycle. And my grandfather was very insistent on working. And the boys had put themselves through college. He wouldn't do it, even though he had the finances to do it. He made them do it. And here he is at age 6 selling ice cream in Provo, Utah. He was an avid athlete, which I think I inherited some of that fortune that you see the Smoot ears. Their team won the state basketball championship with Provo. He was all-state basketball. Now I'm going to see if you can see his records here, but he won, I think, the shot put and I think discus. I can't read it. But this is a great picture. This is Aunt Eileen, Martha, my dad. He always had his sleeves rolled up because he had huge forearms for his man. He says Harold, remember his arms were big. And he ate canned spinach all the time because he wanted to build up like Popeye. And main reason is, and he worked out, main reason he wanted to be able to beat up his older brother Jim. So he'd constantly be measuring himself to a measuring stick, which we inherited one at our house, and I've got me from here to where I am now. But it's just a little trivia. Anyways, Eagle Scout, he initially wanted to be an architect, but decided on medicine, so he graduated pre-med at BYU, went to Northwestern Chicago, and he never been east of Denver. So when he got to Chicago, he first of all, he wondered what the hell he was doing, but then he said his eyes just opened. And rather than going back to Provo, Utah to be a GP, which was his initial planning, he obviously did a little bit more than that. While he was there, he also got his MS in anatomy, and here's a classic article, which is in almost every handbook. Pictures of it are quoted. He dissected 650 hands doing the arterial anatomy of the hand. And I'll get into some more reprints later. But then he met my mother, Jane Oliver, The only one here who knows where South Holland is Bill. She was daughter of Dutch farmers. She was Dairy Queen at 17, and she received her nursing degree from St. Luke's nursing program. That's where she met my dad. Anyway, they were married on my dad's birthday, and 3 children, 12 grandchildren. This picture here shows that my mom and dad honeymooning on a trip to Pro. What a trip. Anyway, he served in the United States Navy during the Korean War. He was stationed at Great Lakes Naval Base, and Bill, rank of lieutenant, junior grade is pretty low budget, isn't it? Yeah, O2. Yeah, so anyway, here's a letter from Harry Truman thanking him for his service. I've got a whole folder on just his naval stuff, and I thought this was funny. Anyway, he had 3 children, which I'm one of. Only one of us got the Smoot ears, and I won't say who it is, but it's not my brother or me. So that leaves one. And I'm going to clarify something here. Skip. Everybody asks me, how'd you get the nickname Skip? This is the last time. I was born at St. Luke's Russ Presbyterian in St. Louis. And my Uncle Don died, my mother's brother died 2 months before I was born. And my parents were living with my grandparents, my mother's parents. And they didn't want to call me, I was named after Don, and they didn't want to call me Don then. So my mother's obstetrician was Skip. His name was Skip, and my mom said, oh, just call him that for a while. Anyway, last time. Anyway, here's the grandchildren. One was missing. I think it was one of mine that was missing. But anyway, he traveled the world over, lecturing, etc. And for German people here, this is Heinz's father. They were very close friends. And Heinz visited our house along with numerous people. One, Carol Larson. And he was a very charismatic man. The problem is, he was a chain smoker. I remember this was like you were in Las Vegas, and there was just constantly one after another. Extremely handsome, very charismatic. And, he was ABC Traveling Fellow. They used to get together for reunions, and this shows one of their reunions that they went to in China. And this was, I think, an interesting thing. He was in Tehran operating on a relative of the Shah, and the day before the revolution, these army people came up and told them to pack their bags. And they were taking my parents had no idea what was going on. So they were they'd taken the airport and flown to the Caspian Sea. And they got there and they still didn't know what's going on. And my mom said she was scared. And the next day was the revolution. So again, he was an ABC Traveling Fellow. And he moved back to Utah, established the Orthopaedic Training Program. Founded the Division Orthopedic Surgery in '57, Chief of Turner's Hospital for 33 years, which my next slide will show you became a Freemason Shriner, and I'll comment on that, but these are just a few of his accomplishments. I could, the list could have gone down to the floor, but I'm sure I got so many plaques and gavels and stuff like that. My mom says, get them out of there. So I unloaded it last year. I think it was last year. Peter gave Peter some memorabilia. My mom said, get it out of here. I said, okay. Anyway, He, Tarza and Trotta, Tarza was the secretary, Trotta was the one who made did all the pathology slides. She cut the sections, make pathology slides. He liked to learn them. He loved pathology. Anyway, they put together all these reprints, which I have 2 volumes of, which were, my dad would come home and Harold probably remembers him carrying his briefcase. He always had his briefcase. First thing he'd do would come home, set his briefcase next to the chair, go to the liquor cabinet, or we love Jack Daniels. Get a cup of ice, pour it with Jack Daniels in there, swig it, and pour some more in. And my mother would say, Sherman. My dad would say, Jane. I don't know how many times I heard Jane. Anyway, he wrote this, he was constantly writing. And anyway, here's 2 of the books he wrote. And I sent this is my oldest, this is number, I go by numbers, this is 1 and 2, I've got 4 boys. And this is a picture of him with his 1 book. He loved that picture. And it became a Freemason Shriner. And he said it was the toughest thing he ever accomplished in his life. He said he had a heart attack. He attributed it to this, having to memorize and recite. And he said it was the toughest thing he ever did. And this here is a certificate. It says he's a 32nd degree, but I think he made it 1 higher than that, 33rd degree. And these are the plaques. I think these are over at Shriners too. Distinguished chief of staff and emeritus and all that stuff. But I couldn't get good pictures. Taking pictures of this, these get shadows or glares or whatever. I tried taking it with a flash and that didn't work well. Anyway, hobbies. He loved golf, loved all sports, and this is a picture with him and Arnold Palmer. This was a pro member tournament at the Salt Lake Country Club, which a lot of people go into tonight, and they became apparently pretty close. This is a Western Union telegram. You can't read it, I don't think, but he sent this to my dad to arrive the day before his birthday, saying, I understand you have a picture of me in your office, and basically I wish you a happy birthday. And that tells you something about Arnold Palmer. You hear a lot about Arnold Palmer, how kind and generous and thoughtful he was, and this kind of the fit mine. So, this is a picture playing with Johnny Miller, and here I am playing with my dad. And this is when I won the father-son tournament at the Salt Lake Country Club. Best round I had in a long time. 72 2 goals. 30 the last hole. We started on number 11. You played country club. We started on number 11. Tuxville started on and end up on number 10. Long par 3 downhill. And we birdied it to win. I birdied it. Anyway, that was fun. And then we got a trophy. Anyway, I put jewelry investing here because we tried to buy my mother clothes, and that day Harold confirmed this, and he did not coordinate. My mother had to he'd go on trips. My mother had to say, Sherman, this is what you wear on this day, and that day. Otherwise, he looked, really. So we decided to buy her jewelry. We loved gold. Absolutely loved gold. He was an avid coin collector. These are some of the pieces I have. This is 1874, I think, $2 little piece. That's one I can't read the date on it, but it's another one. He just loved coins, loved gold, loved the feel of gold. And he had a great sense of humor. Some of you know, when he get together with when Uncle Jim would come to town, normally your Uncle I just kind of care less. Uncle Jim would come to town, we couldn't play either. Because when these two guys got together, the stories they tell were absolutely incredible. The problem is half the time they couldn't, or they wouldn't be able to finish the story because they were laughing so hard, tears coming down. And he kept his sense of humor shortly before he died. This is, I just put this in to remind me, this is Jessie, my youngest niece, who came over to the house. She was, I think, 6 or 7. The only thing you really see in her mouth were these big front teeth. And my dad asked her, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And she said, "That." And my dad said, "We're going to specialize in rabbits." But his hearing was going, or almost gone. I was sitting there a few months before he died. We were watching basketball, football, I can't remember. And he leaned over to me and said, "Did you say something?" I said, "Oh, okay." "Well, that's probably right." I think it's a fentanyl lollipops he was on, metastatic prostate cancer. Anyway, this is kind of a plot I put together. Here he is with the ice cream, here he is in his tricycle, here's my parents. And this is his education was huge to him, probably other than my mother who loved us life. And I want to thank Steve Santora and Chris and Carol. I mean, until several months before he died, Steve and Kristen would chauffeur my dad back and forth to the shrine. And my mom would come out and say, "Sherman, Jane." And my dad would say, "Jane." Somebody has to pass the torch and give constructive criticism, as Kevin mentioned earlier. Where'd you get that phrase, Kevin? Anyway, when I was over in Scotland doing fellowship, he came over with my father-in-law and my mother-in-law and mother. This is Muirfield Golf Course. It's not like Solid Country Club, which you'll see later. It's like Midwood, pure Midwood. But it's just being there and playing. We were guests of Mr. Kaufman, who's a tumor doctor. He and my dad were friends, and he got us on. Mr. Kaufman was a member and got us on Muirfield. We couldn't go in the clubhouse. We couldn't only go in the block. That's how stuffy it was. Again, here's a picture with Arnold, and this is 3 months before he died. This is Thanksgiving at my sister's house. All the males, all the females, and this is probably maybe the last picture taken. Okay. Oh, before I end it. My grandmother's sister, this is Utah trivia, I want to put this out, was Anne Fern, my great and she married George Brimhall, who became president of BYU from 1904 to 1914 or something like that. Anyway, the U had just put the U on the mountain, so BYU had to combine on him. They wanted to put BYU up there, but due to financial restrictions, they could only put one. So, okay. Anyway, thanks. Congrats. And one last slide. There you go.
I think your family more or less invented BYU. How did you get into that?
I'll tell you a story about BYU. They recruited me to go play basketball. And I thought I
down there, meet the coaches and players. Well, they had an assembly that day. So there were four of us. There were four of us. They took us into the assembly and introduced us to 25,000 students. Guess what I was wearing? A red sweater and khakis. And they introduced me as a great grandson, Smoot. I just went, I said, please don't say anything. Please don't make me say anything. So, and I wish I had offered to play at Air Force given retrospect. It was a height of Vietnam War, and I said, no. But retrospect, I wish I would have gone there because Vietnam was over by the time I was finished. But, look back, 2020, there were other schools. So, another question. But I wanted to do this because me.
Thanks for all the work.
And,